In this video, we're going to learn how to change HTML styling using jQuery. First, we're going to use the same source code as in the previous file. The only thing, we're going to get rid of the buttons at the top of the document, and also we will delete the jQuery code. We'll only keep the document ready function. So, first we want to create a button just before Facebook. And we want to be able to click on the button and change the width of Facebook. All right, so let's create the button first. Let's add some text there, change Facebook, and also let's give it an ID, change Facebook. All right, now we're going to go inside our document ready function, and we're going to write a statement where we access the button. So first we access the button using the ID of the button. So number sign followed by the ID. ID is change Facebook. And then the event is going to be click. Okay. And then inside the click, we need the function that we're going to be executing when we click on the button. All right. Okay. So the statement here is gonna be accessing Facebook. So we're gonna use the ID of Facebook again. And we will use the method CSS as we have done with the background color. Okay. So we're going to have two parameters here. So the first one is going to be the property we'd like to change. Okay, so it's going to be width. And the second one is going to be the value that we want to set the width to. So let's try, for example, 300 pixels. So if we click on the button, we can see that the width of Facebook has just changed to 300 pixels. Okay, we don't have to use a string. If we use a value there, for example, if we just put 300 and we click on the button, it will still work. Okay, all right. Also, if we use a mathematical operation, like we can have a sum there, 200 plus 100, it's working as well. Okay, so let's have a number there that will give us the original width of Facebook plus a number between minus 50 and plus 50. Okay, so what we want is Facebook, okay, is when we click on the button, we're just going to add to the width of Facebook something between minus 50 and plus 50. All right. So first of all, let's just change the original width of Facebook. So rather than having width set to auto, let's set it to 300 pixels. Okay. And then we're gonna need a number between minus 50 and 50. So how are we going to do that? So first of all, let's use the math method, random. So we know that this method is going to return a number between 0 and 1. Okay, so if we want a number between minus 50 and 50, first of all, let's get a number between 0 and 100. So we can do that by multiplying this by 100. So something between 0 and 1 multiplied by 100 will give us something between 0 and 100. Okay? And then we can take out 50. And now we're getting something between minus 50 and 50. And then we're going to add to that the original width of Facebook. So how do we access that? So first, we need the selector using the ID of Facebook, and then we're going to use width. Okay, so let's try this. So that's the original width. It's going to be 300 pixels. And if we click on the button, it will randomly add to the current width. It will add something between -50 and 50. Okay. All right. Now let's add another statement. So when we click on the button, we want to set the width to a new value, and also we want to add a new class to Facebook. So the way to do that is by accessing Facebook using its ID first, and then we're going to use a method here. It's going to be add class. All right. So this method will take as a parameter the name of the class that we would like to add to Facebook, and let's try Greenbox. Okay. So let's see what happens. Now we can see that the Facebook properties has just changed to the Microsoft properties. The only thing that did not change is the width. So the reason why is because we are setting the width using jQuery code, and if we do that using code, if we we change the class of Facebook, which means that we are changing the styling using CSS, the property that we set using code is not going to get changed. Okay, so everything else will change, background color, for example, height, etc. But this value that we set using code is not going to change. All right. Okay. So now we can try something else. Let's try to get a more understanding about accessing the properties of the HTML elements. Let's access the inner height of Facebook. The inner height of Facebook is the height of Facebook, including the padding. Okay, so let's just write an alert message. Okay, and we're not alert. So first we're gonna access Facebook. Let's just copy this as we keep using this all the time. So we're gonna access Facebook, and we need to use the inner height of Facebook. Okay, let's click on the button, and now we can see that the inner height of Facebook is 100. Okay, it's similar to the height of Facebook in the styling, because we don't have any padding. All right. Okay, now we can try also the outer height, which is a little bit different. So the outer height is the height plus, including the padding and the border. Okay, so we can try this as well. It's similar. Outer height, and we can comment the first one. And if you click there, okay, the outer height is also 100 because we don't have any border width. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's move to the Apple div, and let's create a second button following the Facebook button. And we're gonna give this button a new ID. It's going to be change Apple, and some text change Apple. All right. So now we would like to try something else. We'll see how to remove a class. Okay, so we have seen how to add a class. Now we will see how to move the class. It's pretty similar. Okay, so let's just copy this code that we use for Facebook. So this time we're going to be accessing the change Apple button, and following that we're accessing the Apple div. Okay, let's just make sure this is correct. Yes. Okay, so now when we click on the Apple div, we would like to remove a class. We could try the yellow box class. Okay, so let's try that. So the function is going to be remove class, as you would have guessed. Okay, remove class, and we just need the name of the class between quotes. So in our case, let's try yellow box and see what happens. So change Apple, we just remove the class yellow box. Okay, we can try something else. We can add another class to Apple and just change it. Okay, so at the moment Apple has got yellow box class. We can add another class. Let's call it sans serif, for example, and let's style this class. So basically we want the font family to be sans serif. Okay, and we are removing the sans serif class. So if we try now, so you can see that we removed the sans serif styling. Okay, now we're going to try something else. So rather than clicking on the button, we'd like to click on Apple. We can do that easily just by accessing the Apple div rather than the button, and the event is still clicking. Okay, so we try that. So when we click on the Apple div, we can see that the sans serif class is removed.